Hi, I'm Mike, and this is my son Noah, and we are the Mental Cases.
Hello, everyone.
And this is everyone's favorite channel about fandom from the perspective of a father and son, Generation X, and a millennial.
Yep.
And the next two episodes, this episode and the next one, are sort of special episodes because we're each going to talk about a specific fandom that we were or are currently still a part of and the experience of it. And Noah, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
And you were once a Brony.
Yes, I was.
Yes, you are post Brony now.
Yes, I've dumped it for now.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll ever go back to it.
Well, I've always been fascinated by this whole Brony thing for lots of reasons. One of which is that what's really amazing about the whole Brony thing is that I think it's the only time where you have somebody making a media product that was aimed at a very specific demographic, but was then picked up and liked by a completely different demographic that they did not count on, that they weren't aiming for. Like Law & Foss didn't get together and say, "Oh, we gotta," with Hasbro and say, "We gotta get that 15 to 35-year-old male
right
demographic with these Bronies."
They were going into it thinking like, "Oh, let's get 10-year-old girls and maybe their parents."
So how did you get into it? How did you start?
Okay, so for me, from what I remember, it was a friend who was telling me about it. I don't know if they were a fan of it or if it was just like it was coming down the cartoon pipeline as like being really good, which at the time of hearing about it would like surprised me. I was like, really? The My Little Pony thing, that super girly thing I see on the TV, it's like that show is good. So it got me intrigued. So I eventually, I think specifically when you weren't home, I went onto I think Netflix, and I was like, well, the whole first few seasons are on here. Why don't I try and watch it? And I put it on, and I was like, geez, is this going to be good? And then the My Little Pony theme went on, and I was like, oh boy, what am I getting myself into? But I watched it, and it was like a genuinely good show.
Well, what was the appeal? Because that's the part that I'm most lost on.
Okay.
Because I get being a part of a fandom.
Right.
That I always understood because when we do my video, I'm going to talk about Star Trek. So
right.
I totally get that part of it. But what was it about it that appealed to you that like, oh, I like this? What was it?
I think it was that they were taking, for me, they took female characters and they didn't like girliness them. They didn't do what the commercials had been doing for years. They actually spent time making one a Southern hard worker, we got a tomboy one, ones that have girly aspects to them, like let's say Pinkie Pie with parties or Fluttershy with all the animals. It's like, but then it's not like overbearingly like hitting you over the head like, oh, aren't they cute? Aren't they funny? Look at them brush their hair. It was like Pinkie Pie is fun to be with, and she has stuff to do and a character to her. It was more developed than it feels like it should have been.
What was it like to be a Brony? What does it mean to be a Brony? How would you define a Brony?
Really, I would say it's somebody who's a fan of the show. It really, like, that's kind of the baseline thing. Just, if you genuinely watch the show and come out of it like, wow, it's actually good and I like it and I want to talk about it, then you're a Brony, I would say. Even if it's one episode and you got hooked by this one episode, I would say, yeah, you are a Brony, I would say.
What part of being a Brony touched you the most or was most meaningful to you about being a Brony?
About being a part of it?
Yes. Being a part of this fandom called Brony.
The moment I feel like I liked it the most was, you were there, was when we went to go see that second Equestria Girls movie, the Rainbow Rocks one.
Oh, yes.
With the rock band, all that stuff.
I did go, and I did see it.
And the theater was filled with Bronies, and we all had a more or less good time.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, I want to say as somebody who's outside of it but close to it, is that Right, it was a theater. It wasn't a theater filled with little girls. It was a theater
was
filled
like
with
a
bronies,
family or two,
maybe one or two, but it was mostly bronies. And what I found interesting and good is that bronies, for the most part, were harmless. They're just there to have fun, just to enjoy it, just to be a part of that group, and it was something. It was wholesome. It was very, at least in that moment. Yes. I don't know if bronies are wholesome across the internet, but in that moment, it was a very sort of wholesome thing. It was just a bunch of kids, 18. There were girls too, 18 to 20, who just wanted to watch this cartoon and have some fun.
Right, and there was nothing. I remember talking about the film after we saw it, with them for a good 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah,
and it was a very nice time.
Yeah, it was very nice. Mm-hmm. All right, so what happened then? What happened to you?
As time went on, basically as the show went on, it, for me at least, started to decline a little bit.
Okay.
And with that, I kind of saw the public bronies less and less, and the internet bronies more and more. And the ones that kind of stuck out around on the internet aren't exactly the best people. And as the show, with both of those things, just to me at least, feeling like they were starting to decline, it just made me go, well, why am I even watching this? Why am I even a part of this?
Oh. All right, so was it more of the decline of the show, or was it the internet nerdist bronies?
I would say it's a 60-40, with the 60 being the nerdy bronies and the 40 being the show.
Really?
The show had, by its fifth, I'd watched up to the 6th season, and it was I don't know, it just doesn't feel as good as it used to be. And then looking online, you've got bronies saying all this different stuff, or you're seeing into their weird, screwed up personal lives, and how they're really manipulative or something, where it's just geez, all the only people I have left to look at for bronies are really screwed up, weird people.
So talk about that though. Are they what's left of the bronies? Did other bronies feel that way about them? Were they the leadership of the bronies? What?
I would say they were the leadership. Well, the thing is that most, I think, of the bronies that are left, I don't know how the fandom is doing. I mean, if somebody wants to give me analytics, but from what I can see, it's mainly what is called the analysis community. And just a bunch of bronies who review the show and make videos. And they're very over-analytical. They're very...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's classic nerdist stuff, because you showed me some of these things, and it's hysterical. The level of intense scrutiny and criticism over
nothing.
Fluttershy's relationship with
Discord or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's way over the top.
Yeah, it just became unbearable at a point. Or just as more time went on, I got a clearer sense of what they were saying, and it just felt super nitpicky.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, and we've never said it this way, but it was also one of the pieces of evidence of our sort of calling out and defining nerdists.
Really?
Because, in my mind, because you would point these things out to me, you'd say, Dad, listen to this guy. These bronies love to hate My Little Pony.
Despite the fact that they're fans.
They're obsessed with it, but they hate everything. Everything is wrong. Everything is bad. Everything is,
Exactly.
They love to rip it up, and yet they can't let it go either. They can't stop talking about it. They can't stop talking about it,
and they're never
they can't
happy.
like it. Right? They can never happy, and they have to make everyone else buy into their unhappiness and make you unhappy.
Right, and one of the most notorious wants they wanted was they want the show to be more open world, effectively, where we don't just focus on the main 6 characters and branch out, and it's a world build, as they say, and it's the show is called Friendship is Magic. How much harder do they need to hit you over the head with it to just say, this show is about interpersonal relationships?
Yeah, really.
And
basic elements of interpersonal relationships.
Right, and it's it just became absurd.
All right, so are you disappointed then? Are you disappointed in them? Are you disappointed that you gave it up?
I'm disappointed in them because ultimately they are what, like looking back at it, they are what started the show's decline. Like when you look at the elements, like or at least I feel, where the show started to go wrong, it kind of goes back to what the Bronies had been saying they wanted. Like, one episode was about all the background characters, all these characters that the fans had built up in their head. And, like, as a fan, like, that's great, but it's kind of a jump to the shark moment where it's like, well, now we're giving you literally the most fan service you've ever wanted. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't need to.
Yeah, and I think Hasbro has turned away from that because I find in the commercials for toys and things, it is over the top geared towards girls. This is a toy for girls. Look at all the girls that are in this commercial.
Right.
Even in the final credits, girls. Girls. Like this real push that this is not. This is for a specific demographic and not this other demographic.
And I would also agree with that with the show because later in like I think the 7th or 8th season, it had.
It's really we're already up to 8 seasons of My Little Pony. That's amazing.
It's not the final one is the 9th one.
Wow.
In I think 7 or 8, it had an episode that basically. Was just basically the whole episode was centered around defanging the criticism of the analysis community.
Really?
Yes, what happens is that the main 6 characters, make this book of like all the lessons they've learned and what happened in all of their previous episodes, and they publish it, and everybody starts nitpicking and picking it apart. Like, how could you do this? Like, why is Fluttershy still nervous about this during this part? Like, after having learned this lesson. And it's like, they're literally verbatim doing that. And the thing is, that episode's not that great. It's not fun to watch. I mean, yeah, them totally saying you guys are stupid for being analytical about this is a great point. But, like, that doesn't need to be an episode. It's not I cannot picture a kid watching that episode and liking it. That was the enjoyment of the show before. That no matter what age you were, you could watch any episode and have fun with it.
Right.
But now, like, they've totally gone on the road that the Bronies wanted it to. And that's where it feels like it failed.
Well, I had a very interesting experience of it as, being your father because, I got it, but I didn't get it. So, so part of me so the part I didn't get is like, why ponies as opposed to like anything else? Like, it was a very strange thing to be a fandom of. Because again, nothing like Bronies, and that's not a criticism, nothing like Bronies had existed prior to Bronies. Like, that's what's really kind of cool about it. There's no other fandom, again, where the demographic that was aimed at was not the demographic that Hook did. It was some other thing. But I didn't get it. But at the same time, I supported your fandom completely because
from day one, I don't think you questioned it that much.
No, not at all, because I always wanted you to like whatever it is you liked and not take any crap from anybody. Right. I had to take a lot of crap, as we'll talk about when we do my video. Yeah. We don't live in a Trek-friendly part of the world. So yeah, so I always had to take a lot, even from family. I had to take crap about the things that I liked, and so I sort of made it a point that if you were going to be a fan of something, I was going to support your fandom, even if it had anything to do with what I liked. But if you liked that thing, I wasn't going to give you any shit about it, the way people gave me shit about it. When I made that choice in my head, and you were young, like a child, I was thinking okay, he might be into sports. I didn't know what you were going to be into.
Right.
He might be into sports, and if he's into sports, then I'm just going to have to go with it because I'm not into sports.
But no, ponies.
But it was ponies. But what I appreciated about Bronies is that Bronies, at least for a time, had a level of dedication that I had only seen back in the day when Trek fans were the only fandom. Having conventions, the Star Trek as I knew it, with Star Trek conventions, because Trek fans, and I'll get to this in my video, Trek fandom is the template, the prototype for all fandoms.
Yes.
Everything that happens in any fandom first happened in Trek.
Yes.
No matter what it is, it happened first. So the only fandom I'd ever seen that really had the full-on dedication to their thing that they loved the way Trek did, was actually bronies.
Really?
And I think Brony is actually a version of Trekkie. I think I think the words etymologically one comes from another. I think Brony, even though Brony sounds like pony, I think the idea of a fan being a brony,
Yeah, I getcha. I would agree. It was for a time, like when I first got into it, I saw how big the fandom was. I was like, oh wow, like I'm not alone in saying that this show is good.
Oh, and that's right, and that's why I wasn't freaked out too, because I was teaching college then, and I knew other college kids who were into it. I was aware sort of that there was a thing. So when you latched onto it, I'd already known that there was a thing that people your age were latching onto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't completely caught off guard.
Oh, okay.
I knew that. I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, I knew a little bit. I just knew that there was this show, and it was MLP, and college guys were kind of getting into it. Either ironically or whatever, I don't know. But I sort of it was on my radar, just a blip.
Right. And it, I mean, I guess I've sounded like a bit of a party pooper saying how much, it's fallen and everything like that, but
no, because that happens.
Yeah, no,
that's part of being a fan of something.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But when I got into it and for that time, it was genuinely just really good. The people I met that were also bronies were very friendly to me. And the show just felt like a good quality show. That's the thing. I feel some people who just want to write off bronies right off the bat. It's no, the show was genuinely good. It genuinely tried to teach good lessons and everything.
Now, you wanted to say something about how fandom relates to being a millennial. What were your thoughts?
Well, okay, the thing I wanted to get into specifically is that it had, because I'm sure we'll talk about this when we get to you, but, it's very different, and I think worse in modern day than it was probably back in the 70s, 80s. And that, thanks to the internet, there is now, because we kind of alluded to it earlier in the video, but, a public fandom and a private internet fandom.
Right.
And the private internet fandom, having a voice and being as loud as they can be, is very problematic for the public one. For example, a lot of bronies have had to deal with the internet bronies being weird or perverted with the characters and having to fight that as well.
Right.
The whole thing about modern day fandoms is that the internet part of the fandom that does not get off the internet, is really toxic.
Right, and those are the nerdists.
Yes.
And honestly, that's the biggest change I've seen on my end of it actually isn't in Star Trek, but in Star Wars. Again, I cannot believe how horrible Star Wars fans are. Star Wars fans were not like this in the 70s and 80s. When I was a boy and a teenager in the 80s, Star Wars fans, and I said this in the Nerdist video, I think, Star Wars fans were like Harry Potter fans. Sort of nice and friendly.
We were fighting with our lightsabers.
Right, we had wiffle ball bats, and we would pretend they're lightsabers. It was all very fun. But now
it's there's a visceral part of it.
Yes, and they've ruined it. I mean,
but here's the thing. I think you remember when we saw The Last Jedi, we sat next to a guy that was dressed up as Kylo Ren.
Yes,
and he was very nice. And he, and after the movie, he seemed to respond to the movie pretty well. The public fandom.
Yeah, I responded.
Right, see that too. You get what I'm getting at.
Yes, absolutely.
The people who fan in public are more or less good people. Yeah, they might be weird, but they're good people.
Right, that's why I made that point about the bronies I met when we went to the movies.
Right.
Harmless college kids having fun with their hobby. Nobody was drinking, nobody was smoking, nobody was high, nobody was just wanted to watch this movie about ponies.
Right, and that's the part of fandom in the modern age, I feel, that is really its best worst aspect. It's literally a double-edged sword. Fandom now is a double-edged sword. I think bronies are probably a great example of it. In my opinion, good when they're out in public. Like, they're good people, more or less, out in public. But, like, you see the internet stuff, and it's... Woof.
All right. Any last thoughts?
Honestly, watch, like, the first 5 seasons. See if you like it, personally. I think those are very good TV. So if this somehow in any way has sparked an interest in me, like, what was good about the show, watch, I would say, the first 5 seasons and try it out. Try it out for yourself.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the show, as always. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and check us out on Facebook, and of course subscribe.
And support us on Patreon.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.